Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the last Tuesday in the month of April, the year 2023. Everybody knows what that means. It means it is time for Angie's Long-Term Care Podcast. And this month, I want to kind of do, if you will, a news by the numbers or some LTC interesting statistics. And I think some of them you're going to be like, yeah, I've heard that all the time. And then others you're going to be like, wow, I didn't realize that was a thing. So I thought it might be kind of fun, believe it or not. Well, I know you all believe this because you know how passionate and nerdy I am about all of this stuff, but I've got like 4 different pages of information, and I don't necessarily want this to be a statistical dump on you on a Tuesday morning, but I think some of these are well worth bringing back up again. Because if you're looking at some of the LIMRA numbers and things like that out there, a lot of people are really just struggling to sell long-term care insurance, whether that be traditional long-term care insurance, whether that be a life with a long-term care rider, whether that be an annuity with a long-term care rider. But for some reason, we seem to have shied away from having these conversations with our clients and bringing it up. I was super excited. Last week, I actually got to go out, and I just love doing this. I had an agent asked if I would come out and do a client-facing seminar. It had been such a long time since he'd had one, and he really wanted to kind of get the word out and bring in lots of people. And I just love that because it kind of keeps me on my toes. It gives me an opportunity to kind of put my finger on the vibe of what consumers are saying out there. And it's always interesting to me who you get at these meetings, right? And just how your brain naturally works when you're in this industry. I would watch the folks as they walked in, and how horrible of me to say this, but as some of them walked in, my brain just immediately was like, decline, decline, decline. Some of them shocked me with their age. And then others were very forthcoming in the fact that, hey, I've had this condition. We've really been thinking about this. We probably should have done something years ago, which got me to thinking it's a lot like that hip replacement, right? Everybody says, oh, I waited way too long to have that hip replacement. I should have done it years ago. I think that's the way that we need to approach having the extended care conversation with our clients. Should have had it a long time ago. Today is the better day to go ahead and do that. So of course, hopefully you know your client base well, whether you're in the life insurance space, you're a financial planner. I see commercials on TV that actually talk about how doing a comprehensive financial plan means that you have to include insurance. And then we always hear on the news how many Americans just are so ill prepared for retirement. Well, if they are ill prepared for retirement, they're most certainly horribly prepared for an extended care event. And I think some of these numbers that I'm going to share with you, you're going to basically say, yeah, not only that, but they might not have an opportunity to get that problem taken care of. So little news by the numbers. 2/3 of clients want their advisor to initiate the conversation. And I say to you, why don't we? Why don't we bring up that conversation with them? Are we afraid of the word no? I don't think that's it. Maybe we're just not as in tune with the long-term care industry, and we just don't feel that we're equipped to have those conversations. But the overwhelming majority of people want and expect their advisor to bring up that conversation. Another little interesting fact, 18% of clients have discussed their extended care options with a financial professional. So that's encouraging that folks are asking, but we need to initiate that. Top 2 reasons for extended care planning: people just don't want to be a burden to their family, and they don't want to impoverish their spouse or partner. So those are very relevant. Those are the reasons why we talk about it, right? Love is an action. I've had that as a podcast. To show your love means you have to take care of those that you love, and it's a promise that you made. So I thought those were kind of interesting. Now, some of these are going to feel like rapid fire. I don't mean them to be, but I just want them to kind of resonate with you for a bit. 71% of all claims start with home care. So if you're not considering short-term care, we've got some wonderful short-term care, home care policies out there today. And that is the least intrusive. I call it selling long-term care insurance in reverse, right? So if you can start the conversation with everybody wants to stay at home, well, 71% of claims start in the home. I have some coverage that will help you with that. So that would be one hurdle for there. Another one, 20% of all claims start in an assisted living facility. There for a while when I was with some of the larger insurance companies, they would tell you that that was the fastest growing area, right? Because the couple could actually move in and live together. Another number, 41% of claims are related to a cognitive issue. 41% related to a cognitive issue. And we all know that you can live a very long time without having memories, without having short-term memory. So we need to think about that. Females represent 63% of claims. So I don't know if you've got any female clients, but it certainly would behoove you to have a conversation with them. And it's really interesting to me because when I did these seminars last week, there were obviously couples, right? Husband and wives, and then some of the ladies came by themselves. And I just use a lot of humor. And I simply said, you know, ladies, we statistically live longer, right? So therefore we don't have that built-in caregiver. And I said, and there's just some things, as much as I love my husband to death and I own long-term care insurance, I don't want him doing things for me. You know, he's going to do his best. He'll brush my teeth, but by the end of that little exercise, I might have some holes in the back of my head because he's going to want to do a really, really good job. And then I just kind of wink at the ladies in the room and say, and you know what? There's just some things I don't want him to do. There's just some things he's not going to be good at taking care of. And they all shake their head yes. So women, 63% of claims. 51% of claims happen between ages of 81 and 90. So when you start building out your financial portfolio, the idea is to not outlive our money. And if we're projecting to not outlive our money, wouldn't it make sense that there could be, in that longevity of our life, that we could have an extended care event at some point, at some time, at some degree in our lifetime? I don't know that anybody could truly deny that. There are over 100 forms of dementia. Most known form is Alzheimer's. And I will tell you, if you know your long-term care policies, it's a severe cognitive impairment. There are several stages of cognitive impairments, right? You don't immediately jump into a severe cognitive impairment. So something to think about. Every 65 seconds, someone in America develops Alzheimer's. And this is the one thing that is the longest standing claim at the insurance companies. Every 65 seconds, someone develops Alzheimer's. That's staggering. Each month, now this one I find absolutely just dumbfounding. Every month, we could fill a 246 Boeing 737 airplane with new Alzheimer's diagnoses. Now that is crazy. Each month, we could fill 246 Boeing 737 airplanes with new Alzheimer's diagnoses. Crazy. 8 years is the average duration from a diagnosis to death for Alzheimer's. So they do last very, very long. Some other little news by the numbers. I don't know, maybe you guys aren't just as nerdy as I am, but some of these are just, I always take some of this, any information that I learn, no matter what kind of I can go to an AI conference about artificial intelligence and somehow relate that back to extended care, whether that's the insurance component of it or it's the caregiving component of it. There's just nothing that in my little brain that I can't relate back. Here's another interesting, the average, and if you could see me, I'm air quoting, the average caregiver is a 49-year-old woman who works outside the home and spends nearly 20 hours a week, the equivalent of another part-time job, providing unpaid care for her mother for nearly 4 years. Can I tell you, that couldn't be more true in my family. My sister-in-law does this every single day of her life. And she does it because she says if she doesn't, she would not feel right making sure that her mother was taken care of. So that, and there are times where she is just, she's a full-time nurse. So she takes care of people all day long. And then every night she changes her clothes, picks up her dog, goes to her mom's house, hangs out with her, has dinner, cleans up dinner dishes. And her mom's doesn't have dementia. You guys have heard me many a times talk on this podcast. Her mom's actually doing very, very well now, but she still spends all of that time with her. Just interesting. I mean, it's just, how many of us work a full-time job and then go want to work a part-time job? Another interesting thing, when mom or dad need care, it typically falls on the daughter or the daughters. And I think most of us see that. My husband is the first one to tell you that upon his mother's passing, because his father's already passed, his sister can have anything and everything she wants that's left in the estate of their parents because of all of the caregiving she's done for the both of them in her lifetime. So it most certainly does. There's just things that as a son, he says, I just cannot do that for my mom. Never say never, but he can do that right now, right? Because he's got a wife and a sister, obviously both of the female persuasion. So it makes it easier for us to step in and help mom with some of those intimate things. This one I think is interesting. Care is never equally shared among siblings. And I'm preaching to the choir. I understand that. I also understand that typically we don't find that an extended care event brings family together. I will tell you that when we were going through the situation with my mother-in-law, and we really, really thought we were kind of staring down the barrel of needing some nursing home care, my husband and I both, trying to be as realistic and compassionate as possible, knew that this was going to be a fight with my sister-in-law. She actually took 4 weeks of FMLA leave to take care of her mother just so she didn't have to go to the nursing home. Let's stop and think. She did not get her full paycheck for that. She guaranteed her job back. She didn't put in as much income, so therefore she limited her Social Security earnings for future use. All those things come into play. Another one, almost 70% of those who plan to retire in the next 10 years say they have no idea what their healthcare and long-term care costs will be in retirement. No idea. So again, why not take extended care planning and make it an education? This is exactly what I said last week in these 2 seminars. I said, we're not here to sell you anything. We're here to educate you. Without good quality information, you cannot make an educated decision. There's a lot of solutions out there for this situation. You just have to have a plan. That's why it's called extended care planning. It's just knowing how you're going to take care of this when the need arises. And then, of course, Alzheimer's is the most feared health condition of later life among retirees, ranking higher than cancer, heart attack, and stroke. So, and it's because they know they can live a very long time with that. And quite frankly, who thinks that they want to live out their life, right, without their memories? So a couple of other things I wanted to share. This is actually coming from the ICIFactbook.org. 39.4 trillion with a T in total U.S. retirement assets as of 12/31 of 21. Lots and lots of retirement assets. 13.9 trillion of that is in IRAs. 7.7 trillion of that is in 401k plans. So there's a lot of money. The great wealth transfer will happen. And then we think 30% of U.S. households have an IRA and an employer-sponsored retirement plan, right? And so the purpose of that is to basically live off that and not outlive our money. And wouldn't it be nice to know? And there's actually some legislation out there. I know one of my podcasts I talked about different legislations, and some of them are out there to where you would be able to pull out a certain amount of your qualified money on a tax-free basis without penalties to be able to pay for an extended care plan if you needed that. None of that's really come to fruition or come to the top of the table yet, but always watching for that. Well, that is my podcast for April. I just found that these numbers were interesting. I always like to share this content back out there because I think hopefully when you're having conversations with your clients, your customers, and you're the one initiating, these conversations about having a plan in place. And I say, I'm not sure why we're so scared to talk about extended care planning, because quite frankly, we plan most major events, birthdays, retirements. We even plan our funerals. Why wouldn't you plan the phase in life that happens between birthdays and funerals? That's the dash, right? That's everything that we need to plan for, is what's going to happen. So with that, I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of April. May it bring in some beautiful May showers and beautiful flowers. And I hope you're enjoying spring. And I will talk with all of you in the month of May. Thank you very much.